Happy Saturday, guys. Um, I wanted to get on here real quick. As most of you know, I left LinkedIn for a little while, and I just got tired of competitive business on LinkedIn. It was just, for me, if you guys know me, I just want to share what I know with you guys, and work together with somebody to kind of create whatever we want to create, right? I mean, that's kind of that I want to do here. And so I felt like I just needed to leave LinkedIn for a while, just because there's just it's just that competitive atmosphere. So, and I realized that, since all I want to really do is share, so I started writing a book. So, and that's ultimately, everything that after you go through apprenticeships and learn a lot of different things, ultimately what we have to share with each other is our knowledge and our experiences with each other. And so I thought that was the best idea that I could come up with for the month of December, because things slow down. It's the holidays, and I just rather just sit and write about things that I've gone through in the last 12 months to share with as much of myself with you guys as possible. But I just put a post on YouTube, or I mean on Facebook, about It's a Wonderful Life, and I just went through this story with my kids, and so I kind of want to share with you guys how I just watched it again, and I had so many more it was so much more insightful for me when I watched this movie. It's a story about George Bailey, who grows up in Bedford Falls, and at the beginning of the movie, Clarence, this angel, is talking to God, and he's watching George Bailey's life. And George Bailey saves his brother when he's little, so he loses hearing in his ear, and he goes to work for the local pharmacist and grows up, and he has this dream of just going out and changing the world, right? And every time he gets ready to go, there's always something that happens in the town where he's kind of pulled back in. His dad owns the savings and loan building, and right when he's getting ready to leave and go to college, his dad passes away. And our arch enemy of the story, Potter, who's trying to take over everything, he's this old man who kind of this soulless creature, right? Who all he can do is just take more. He's never creating anything for himself. He just needs, he's trying to always fill this hole, because he's just this empty, polluted old man. And George tells the counselor, he's like, if you guys get rid of this savings and loan, you're going to let this guy over here, he's going to take this thing, and we're all going to be living in his slums. And they tell him, they say, well, hey, we've all agreed that we should keep the savings and loan and keep it running, but only if you stay and run it. And so he does the right thing, and he stays, and runs the saving and loan. And then, he meets Mary, his wife, his soon-to-be wife. And as soon as he gets married, on his wedding day, they're trying to leave town, and he saved up $2,000, right? And he's talking in the cab about where they're going to go and what they're going to do. And then all of a sudden they're driving by the savings and loan building, and it looks like there's a run on the bank. And so, he stops. He's like, he's getting pulled because he feels this need, right? I mean, there's always a need there in town, and he can't leave. And Mary's like, just ignore it. Let's just go. We gotta go, get out of here. And he can't do it. So he goes out and he sees it, and everybody says, well, the bank's closed. We need money. We got to get our money out. So there's a run on the bank, and he doesn't have any bank in the savings and loan. He tries to explain it to him. It's like, your money is helping all of us, build houses. We're all working together, trying to build a better place here. Your money here is invested in that person's house. I can't just give you whatever you want. And it's like, well, we need money. We have to have something for the weekend. And of course, Mary comes through the door, and she's like, we've got $2,000. And so somehow he makes it work and talks everybody into just getting through the weekend until the bank opens, so that they can just get by. And he spends all that $2,000 except for that last $1. By the time, he gets done, Mary's gone. This is his wedding night. He's stuck back in town, and now he's used all his money, so he can't go on his honeymoon. But he keeps Potter from getting the savings and loan. If he wouldn't have been able to, if he would have had to declare bankruptcy, Potter would have taken the savings and loan and taken the whole town. So the story goes on, and Potter's constantly trying to take everything in town, and George Bailey's trying to get out of town and get out of the savings and loan, but his heart keeps, going into the community, and he can't stop helping the community. And one day, his assistant, his friend is a little bit scatterbrained. He plays a really genuine character, but he doesn't have very good memory. He accidentally puts $8,000 of the savings and loan money he's going to deposit in the bank, and he accidentally leaves it on the counter, or leaves it in a newspaper, and hands it to Potter when he's talking to Potter. And when Potter goes back in his office, he opens the paper and sees the $8,000, and he sees the assistant, looking for it out in the bank. And now Potter's got him, right? Potter, he's got him now. And so he just waits. As soon as he sees, him leave, the assistant leave, and George Bailey goes, and, he ends up talking to his assistant, and he starts getting frazzled, right? Because the bank examiner's there, and it looks like they're embezzling $8,000 from the public. And he starts to get angry. He's like, I'm not going to jail, right? I mean, he's been doing all this stuff and trying to help people, and all it's doing is just putting him in a hole. And so he goes home, and he's mad, and he's yelling at his children, and he just doesn't know what to do. And he ends up going out to a bridge where he's just he's at the end of his rope. He doesn't know what to do. And I think all of us at one point or another have been in a place where it's like, what am I going to do now? I've been through cycles in my life where I've come to an end of something, and I thought, man, what is going to happen? I don't know what there is left, right? And so Clarence, of course, he jumps in the water so George doesn't jump in the water to kill himself. So George sees Clarence go in, and of course, George's heart, he's just got to jump in and help Clarence, and gets Clarence out, and they talk for a while, and it's everybody, there's another guy in there on the bridge that is listening to Clarence talk, and realizes that this guy must be a loon, because he's telling him he's an angel and he's trying to get his wings. And George says, you know what, it would have been better if I just never would have been born. And so he gets his wish, right? And George goes through and sees that what the town would have been like if he would have never been born. And this is such a profound part of this movie, where you realize how much impact you have on the people around you, and that you're not just you are everyone around you. You're not isolated. And he comes to this fact. He sees that his wife is just a widow, and the pharmacist that he worked for ended up poisoning somebody because he wasn't there to keep him from poisoning somebody, and he went to prison, and now he's just this old man who's lost and doesn't know himself. And it's Pottersville. It's not even Bedford Falls anymore, because Potter had taken over the town when his father died, and everything about the place was different. Harry died when he was just a little kid because George wasn't there to save him. And so he gets to the end of his rope, and he finally goes back to that bridge, and he's just, you know what, God, I just want to live again. And I think that's the ultimate story, because all of us just want to live free, right? No restraints. And so my message for you on this Saturday would be, I just saw a Jim Carrey speech where you just get to push the reset button every day. And today's Saturday. So the only thing that I really want to do today, I don't want to write my book. I just want to play with somebody. So, because that's all we're here to do anyway. If you want to live, then just start living. There's no reason to not live. If you're trying to worry about something, or if you're caught in some kind of worry, or think that ends aren't going to get met, then you're not living, right? So let's just go outside and play together. So I'm just going to go out and call my friends and see who wants to play with me. And so that's my message for today. Just start living. Because George learned at the end that he just went home, and everybody just wanted to play with him. The money didn't matter. the $8,000, he found out that he had far more than $8,000. And Potter never got the town.